it is almost impossible to have the sort of Twitter encounter we have on Twitter, I have long since discovered, since I started this podcast, that the people who actually feel like, we disagree with us are not as monstrous as we think we are, as we think they are. They're just human being like us with worries, but just with different opinions on things, and sometimes wrong on them, because even when there are opinions, that could be a fact, So the following conversation is a conversation with Mr. Ishaq Akintola, is the founder of MURIC. He's an advocate for Sharia law right here in the Southwest, and we disagreed on a lot of things, like evolution by natural selection, often evolution by natural selection. But it took the book, this book I gave to him on the podcast, the title is The Great Show on it, and he said he didn't right before I left, But if he actually told me some few days ago that the interview was more like a debate, and he didn't want it that way, He has also cancelled our debate, our planned debates, I asked him a question that I've been asking a few people, a lot of religious leaders, right here on the podcast, offline and offline also. After the convention was recorded, after Baba Jesha was arrested, and I asked him the same question I've been asking. If Baba Jesha is guilty for molesting a 14-year-old, why is Muhammad not guilty for sleeping with a 9-year-old? Aisha was married around age 6. Aisha, Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad married Aisha at around age 6 and consummated the marriage around age 9 while he was 58 years old. Mubarak Bala, a man who has been in jail for a very long time, has pointed this out on his Facebook page, and he has been in jail for more than a year and a couple of months, So he said Prophet Muhammad is a pedophile. That was what he said on his Facebook page. I generally do not actually judge historical figures by the morals of my time. Naturally, they are not living in my time. I'm very sure Prophet Muhammad wasn't the only one that actually married a girl at such a young age in his time. Even the Jewish people actually marry at age 12, around age 12. But Islam is making a different claim. It is claiming to be the final authority on morals, and according to even Mr. Ishaq Akintola, he actually claimed that Islam is the answer to everything. And when we disagreed, where I actually told him that Islam is actually failing the note, and evidently is actually failing the note, And he said Islam is the answer to everything. But he couldn't answer this question, why is Bajisha guilty and why is Muhammad not? Actually, by the morals of Prophet Muhammad's time, he wasn't a pedophile, he wasn't a pedophile. Genghis Khan actually killed thousands of people, and he was the alpha male of his time. No one actually called him a murderer for doing that, and I wouldn't say samurais and also samurais were in the business of actually killing people. So why would I actually judge them by the standard of my time when murdering someone is actually wrong, But if Islam is claiming to be a divine authority, that's the objective truth. That is objective truth time. You can't actually judge someone for asking the rational question. It was a logical question, Now why is Prophet Muhammad not a pedophile? And that is why Mubarak Bala has been in jail for more than a year. He has been in jail for more than a year, and a couple of months. And this podcast episode is actually dedicated to him. I'm dedicating this to him. His time in imprisonment, and I hope that I will be bringing up his issue with a lot of people I'm actually meeting. So if you actually enjoy this podcast, please support it. I have tried all I could, to actually get all of these secular communities to actually rise up in his favor, because we can actually get him out. It wasn't the Lord that put him in jail. It won't be the Lord that actually get him out. That's the truth. That's the truth. He has been in jail for more than a year, and they've tried every legal encounter, and he's still in jail. So it won't be the same law that will actually help him out. So what I actually proposed was that we actually make a self-shot video, but the secular other people are now actually discouraged us. But if you have the will, please ask the same question right here. Share this video and actually ask the same question. Why is Baba Jesha guilty for being a pedophile? And why is Prophet Muhammad not? If Islam is actually claiming to have divine authority and authority on moral claims, if it has an objective fact, if their moral standard is actually an objective fact, why is he a pedophile? Even in Mecca, Saudi Arabia right now, it is wrong to actually marry a 9-year-old. So what changed? Did Prophet Muhammad change his mind? Did Allah change his mind on what is the standard of morality in this time? And I hope Mr. Ishaq Akintola, the founder of MURIC, we actually summoned the courage. I hope this is not about time. I think it is about the willingness to actually open Islam up for debate. I think that is what this is about. This is not about his time. He cancelled the debate indefinitely. After asking this, I asked him this question. And our dialogue was an intellectual, respective conversation, and I hope we can actually continue that. Anytime he wants, I'm ready to actually debate him anytime he wants on Sharia law, on Islam, or anything he actually wants. Anytime. And I'm willing to do this, anytime of the day. So I hope one day Mr. Ishaq Akintola will actually retract from this kind of dogmatic. Because if you want to open a religion up to debate, it becomes a dogma. You either succumb to the dogmatism or laziness, one way or the other. If you have an idea that you think is the right idea, it is your duty, not just it is your duty to actually debate it with those who have a different idea, because no one actually has. The world is too complicated for someone. Just want someone to have an objective fact, to know it all, to have the truth on his own. So please, if you like this video, please support there is an investigation going on. Please support the podcast and share this video. Give it a thumbs up. And most importantly, please share the video asking this question. If Baba Jesha is guilty for being a child molester, molesting a 14-year-old, why is Prophet Muhammad and hashtag free Mubarak Bala? Thank you. Enjoy the podcast.
Can you give me a short narration of how Islam spread to Africa and Nigeria?
That's quite a long story. From Medina, from Mecca, in the 7th century, because the spread of Islam began in the year 622, when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came to migrated to Medina in a flight, because he was being persecuted in his hometown, Mecca, and because of the persecution, he decided to migrate. So that migration is called flight or hijrah. That is a flight from danger. Now that was in 622. And a few decades later, around maybe, let's say 2 decades later, by 636, Islam had begun spreading to neighboring countries like Egypt, like Libya, Tunisia, Algeria in North Africa. So it began around 636, in short, because Islam reached Egypt in 636. And from Egypt to Tunisia to Libya in 638, and then to Morocco, and then Algeria. That was the trend. It was first spread in North Africa. And from North Africa, it started, it continued to Spain in Europe in the year 711. But then to West Africa, that was in the 8th century. So now Islam reached Nigeria in the year 1805. in the year 1085. 1085, that was in the 11th century. So it continued like that from it reached Nigeria in, I said 1085 through Muhammad ibn Mani, an itinerant Arab preacher. And it was during the reign of King Jilmi that Islam reached Nigeria. The first city or area that it reached was Kanem Borno. Kanem Borno. That was in 1085. And from there, it continued to spread to other parts of Nigeria.
Yeah. Nigeria wasn't existing by then. You know.
To other parts, yes, but like then that's geographical expression we will use.
Yeah.
Because Nigeria may not have existed at the time, but those places existed.
Yeah.
And today they are in Nigeria.
Yeah, Bono. To what extent was like the spread of Islam all through Africa? To what extent was violence involved? You know, like and Spain, and you said 711. Was it during the life of Prophet Muhammad?
No, Muhammad had died in 632.
Okay, 632. All right. To what extent was violence involved in Africa?
To no extent.
To no extent. There wasn't violence.
No, because those who came to spread Islam at that time were not in large number. They were in their twos, in their threes. They came to sell and they came to buy and sell. They were traders.
It was through trade.
Yes, through trade.
All through Africa.
And through trade and through barter. There was no cash then. It was trade by barter.
I've read a lot of things on the struggle and the spread of Islam all through Africa, and I don't know. I think in preparation for this conversation, I read that they came to Egypt with about around 4,000 soldiers or so. I think. I don't know, but I would continue to look at our renovation. The word jihad, you know, what does it means in its full context? The word jihad. People use the word this like in different ways, you know, and it is very difficult to actually take a grapple with of what the word actually means in full context.
Jihad means struggle. Struggle to get something done. Jihad means discipline. Discipline of self. It means good manners. It means self-control. We call it jihadun nafs. Unfortunately, a lot of people make the mistake of referring to jihad as religious war. That's not in Islamic vocabulary. What's in Islamic and Arabic vocabulary is jihad is struggle. War is harb or ma'araka or ghazwa. Those are the three Arabic words that are used for war.
What about those Muslims who actually call jihad? You know, like why do they call them jihadists? Like when someone actually commits some kind of violence, or why do they call them jihadists? Like they said, the rising of jihadists in Africa, it is not like those that are fasting and actually disciplined. It is mainstream actually attributed to a form of violence, you know, a form of
people are free to attribute jihad to force or violence. You can't take it off their minds if this is what they want to be using. They're free to continue using it. But in real vocabulary, in our lexicon, Islamic lexicon, jihad is discipline. It is self-control. It is good manners. So, it's not war. I might be fighting a jihad if I go to the street there where there is traffic gridlock, and I remove my turban, and I get to the middle of the road and start controlling traffic, so that people might pass easily, and distress might disappear. So I'm doing a jihad. I'm struggling to improve the standard of living of people. They will not waste man-hour on the road. Their vehicles will not break down in the heavy traffic. I'm doing a jihad. I'm doing a jihad when I see a poor woman, a very elderly woman, who can hardly walk, attempting to cross the road. And vehicles are crossing very fast. They are passing very fast. And the woman has been there for maybe 15, 30 minutes. And I notice it. So I cross the road for her and hold her by her hand and signal to all the vehicles passing to stop. And I assist her in crossing. I have done a jihad. Jihad is also anti-corruption. I am doing jihad when I expose those who steal government funds. I am doing a jihad if I expose those who, during examination, they are giraffing, they are copying from other people, they have something on their laps, and they are copying from it. I'm doing a jihad if I check them and I expose them. So
it is about building a better society.
It's about building a better society.
So, according to Islam, or according to you, or what would be the standard of your better society? I've seen a lot of stories on the news, like and that we actually get to later on the news recently about things you've said and about the weed, legalizing weed, cannabis, and a lot of things. But what would you call the standard? What would be the standard of a better society, a good moral society for you?
Well, in a good moral society, there will be reduction in crime. It will be like 3%. It will be a crime-free society. That's my type of crime-free. That's my type of good standard of living. That's my type of good life. You've noticed that our organization, Muslim Rights Concern, we fought against immoralities. That's our jihad. That's the kind of jihad that is in our lexicon. We've spoken against the legalization of cannabis, marijuana, and we said, look, if you legalize society, too many crazy people will do more crazy things. Without legalizing it, it's pushing them to commit lots of crime. And when you legalize it now, then they would definitely be smoking it on the streets, and little children will be emboldened to stab, anybody who tries to control them. They will stab them, they will attack them, they might even cut them with cutlasses. Now, we've also fought against, there was this, what do you call this, this program on television where, is it? BB Niger.
Okay, so another one is coming up soon.
Yes, we know. BB Niger, where young people kiss openly, they romance openly, and worse still, they have sexual intercourse in the open. I think that's Armageddon for you. We think it's quite immoral, it's unacceptable, and it should be stopped. That's when you do that, when you campaign against immorality, you are doing jihad.
Mm-hmm. then how does Islam actually factor into this? How does Islam actually fit into this? Is Islam the standard of morality, or how does Islam,
Islam is
does it make it better?
Islam is a way of life. It's not just about religion. It's not just about worshiping Allah. Islam, is a complete way of life. It's in politics. It's in economics. It's in all things that men get involved in. The sciences, education, whatever.
It is like an answer to everything.
That's it. That's why we call it a way of life.
Then, if Islam actually makes society better, what do you think is actually responsible for the instability in the north? It's mainly in the northern part of Nigeria, and it is the most religious part of Nigeria, in the Islamic religion part of religious part of Nigeria. What do you think is actually responsible for the rise of violence? It is. I think it is also. I'm very sorry to actually say this. I think it's also the most impoverished part of the country. And it is the most. It is the place where Islam is most dominant. How does it? Why do you think Islam is failing there?
Islam is not failing there. It is the people that are failing. What happened is people become careless after some time, and they indulge in what they should not indulge in. They misunderstand certain concepts. Say, for instance, people refuse to educate their children. That's not the fault of Islam. People not
like Western education.
I'm not talking about Western education. Education it's not about going to school. You can go to school and remain uneducated. You can spend 4 years doing a degree in the university. You can get the certificate, but you remain an illiterate. The issue is, what do you do with your education? Does it change your life? Does it add value to your life? So, when we talk of education, it's not Western education. Islamic education is education. Western education is education. When you go to Spain, they'll tell you they don't speak English, but they are educated. I once dropped at the De Gaulle airport in France, and I had a stopover. I was going to the US, and the police, the security men there had reason to ask me questions, and I was answering. I was responding in English, and they were telling me they couldn't speak English. I told them to go to hell. If you can't speak English, why did you say you want to talk to me? So I knew they were pretending, but what I want to bring out there is they were also educated around that. That was around 1994 or 95. They were educated. They spoke only French. They couldn't speak English, or rather they claimed they couldn't speak English. So it's not when you speak English you are educated. If I'm speaking my Yoruba language, I am educated. The mechanic is educated. He spent time to train, and he cannot even, if you ask him what is your name, he may not be able to answer. But he's educated. He's trained. The Vice Chancellor of Princeton University in the United States defined education as action. He said education is action. Whatever you are able to do to add value to people's life is education. You are using your education for the betterment of humanity. So when we talk of education, the Northerners are well educated. In their Islamic education, they are well educated. But the problem arose when they now overindulged in the production of children without taking proper care of such children. Islam encourages you to marry, but when you marry, you must take care of of what you produce as children. So for sending out children to gain Islamic education or Quranic education without providing for those children, without providing for the teachers, that was where the problem started. And you can't blame Islam for that. Because those who started Islamic education are still better off. Their countries are still performing. Their society is crime free. You go to Saudi Arabia. A gentleman went to Saudi Arabia and forgot because he had about 3 or 4 bags. He forgot the smallest one, and it contained all his cash, a lot of dollars. He left the airport at Jeddah. He left the bag there and went into Mecca, more than 150 kilometers away. And it was when he was settling down in the hotel that he remembered that the bag containing all his money was not with him. So he started screaming. But when the hoteliers heard him, they came, they asked him what happened. He said, all my money, all my money. They said, look, was it at the Jeddah International Airport? He said, yes. He said, look, do you know where you left it? He said, yes, you will find it there. They went there the next day. He went there the next day. One of them followed him. And when they got to the airport, he pointed at the spot. And lo and behold, he saw the bag there. They went there. As he bent down to pick the bag, policemen surrounded him because they didn't know that he was the owner. They were watching it, but camera was everywhere. That is civilization. But nobody attempted to steal it. He was able to explain that the bag belonged to him. Okay, what do you have inside? He described it. When they checked it, the description matched what was exactly inside. So that's a society that is working. And this is a society that is wholly 100% Islamic. So it is not Islam that failed in the north. It is people that failed to apply Islam the way Islam teaches.
What about Switzerland? You know, Switzerland is actually a secular country, and about how many percentage of them? I don't think there are even up to 20% of them that are actually religious. Or what do you think is responsible for it is the first country in the world, the country where people are most honest, I think, but not really in the governmental system, but I mean, like, you know, where your bags, like the example you give, your bags will actually be certainly returned if it actually got lost. So, what do you think is responsible? That could a person actually return, like, live a moral life without the influence of Islam? A good moral life without the influence of Islam? Or even better than...
Sure. Switzerland is not an Islamic country. You gave the example of Switzerland. In Switzerland, the police don't work weekends. They don't work weekends because there's no crime. Well, and even where there is high rate of crime, that does not mean that there is no control. It does not mean there is failure of civilization. My bag was lost at an airport in the US sometime in 1996 or thereabout. A whole bag. It just didn't come. I just didn't see it when I alighted. When I got to the belt, I didn't find it. So I went to the university that I came to, where I came to spend some time and give lectures. And after the lecture, that next day, I went into the house they gave me within the campus, and I was sitting watching television when the door opened behind me. And when I looked back, it was a policeman that came in. He was rolling my bag. Everything was intact. That's a society that is working. But in the same US, mass killing occurs almost on a daily basis now. But when there are records, they are able to trail, your things. You can find things when you lose them. Particularly in a place like the airport. It may not be easy to do that in Nigeria. It may not be easy. So it's a question. Zimbabwe is not a deeply religious country. A friend of mine went to Zimbabwe, hired a car because he was to spend 6 months. He hired a car for 6 months. And at the end of the day, when he was leaving after 6 months, he had to return that car. By the time he remembered that he had to return the car, he had only 2 hours to get to the airport and back to Nigeria. So he could not return that car if he wanted to return to Nigeria on that day. So he continued to drive to the airport. He got to the airport and the cab driver, a cab driver, he approached a cab driver for advice. He said, I want to return this car, but I have to fly. I have to return to my country. Can you help me? The guy collected the car key, drove the car to the company, deposited it there. By the time my friend arrived in Nigeria, the company had sent him a mail that the car he hired had been returned. You cannot do that at Lagos Airport. If you give anybody the key to your car to drive it back to your house or to anywhere, that's the last you will see of the car. But the man in Zimbabwe was not necessarily a churchgoer or a mosque-friendly person. He did it because Zimbabwe was already a disciplined society. So it's not Islam alone that can that will guard morality. You see, good leaders can guard morality, can guide morality, and guide the people to goodness. The church can also guide people to goodness, because I am being objective. So if you see the religions deal with the soul, your heart, your mind, and they make you a morally upright.
But you don't really have to be. You don't really need religion to.
You don't really, in a number of cases, you don't need religion to be a good person. Look at late Tai Solani. Tai Solani will take up any issue, anything that is wrong with society and handle it. If he sees a corpse abandoned by the roadside, Tai Solani will carry it to the local government, because he believes that it is dehumanizing to leave somebody's dead body on the road. It is the responsibility of government. And where government abdicates that responsibility, Tai Solani would, and Tai Solani was an atheist. So it's not religion alone, it's not Islam alone, it's not Christianity alone that will purify, so to speak, society.
So you said in some cases, is there any case that religion has to be the one? Is there any case that religion has to be the one to actually make you?
When it comes to coming close to God, it can only be religion.
Like it has to okay, if there is actually a concept of God, it has to be a religion. So, but there are, well, it is right in a sense, you know, like if coming close to God, you know. But you said we can actually live a moral life, you know, without actually believing in a God or something like that.
But it's better to believe in God.
For what, you know? Is there any part of our life, you know, where any part of our life that can't be independent of God, that actually consistently and actually needs the belief in God for us to actually live a good life or in that area of our life?
We have to believe in God. We didn't drop from heaven. We didn't drop from heaven. We were created. And if we believe in creation, then we must pay reverence, pay homage to the author of that creation.
I love that we're actually vibing together, you know. I have this question next, you know. Like, how do you explain the origin of the human species? I call it species because we're a species. How do you explain our own origin? Is there a creation story in the Quran? I know of the Bible, but of the Bible creation story, but is there a creation story in the Quran?
When you talk of creation theory, we've had a lot of like the Darwinian theory of
It is not like creation of evolution. It wasn't created.
yes, Charles Darwin argued that men came from certain species. That, of course, he mentioned water. The origin of the species. That was the title of his book. So that was his argument. But interestingly, the Quran also affirms that man came from water.
So you accept the fact of evolution?
I accept the fact of the Quran. Quran chapter 30 verse 21 says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَّرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَّقْنَاهُمَا وَخَلَقْنَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيًّا. The translation is, can't the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth were together before? And we separated them with an explosion. And then we created everything that is living from water. That affirms two theories. The theory of, what did you call it? That's the Big Bang. The Big Bang. The Big Bang theory has been affirmed by that same verse that heaven and earth were together before. You remember that the cosmic egg theory, that, well, heaven and the earth, everything, there was no earth, there was no heaven before, and then came the Big Bang. The Quran is referring to that Big Bang.
So you said this knowledge has been known by man since the origin of the Quran.
Now, yes, and that was a long time ago. That was in the 7th century. No, in the 7th century. No, let me finish with the translation of that verse, because I mentioned the fact that the Quran said all beings are created from water. All living things created from water. And that water is the spermatozoa, that's from which man and woman came. It was only Adam that was created, Adam and Eve, Adam at first, then Eve, that were created from without water.
So the Bible claims that the Quran claims that it is not from the sea, like the ocean, the oldest form of life. You're not actually referring to the oldest form of life. They call it the first species that actually left the ocean was Tiklectic. It was its remains was found in Canada or something like that. In Canada, it was found in Canada. You're not saying that this is actually the ocean is not the origin of life, the ocean is not the source of, is not the habitat of the first species that walked on land. They are just saying that it is just that we were created in this form, like from Adam was molded without, it was the first being, it was the first creature, the first human being, and from his left side Hawa was created. That's Eve. She's called Hawa in the Quran. And of course, between the two of them, mating started. And procreation began. Up till today. Through water. That is, when you drop sperm anywhere and leave it for 24, 48 hours, see what it becomes. It is watery. So when the Quran refers to creation of man from water, you get what I mean. So another question. All right. I just wanted to actually expatiate on this issue. You said it was confirming the theory of evolution, but that is not what the theory of evolution actually states. The theory of evolution actually, with a lot of evidence behind it, anyway, that there are primordial states, like previous state that humans were like, there are Homo erectus, Homo habilis, Homo that these were also Homo species, that actually died out not very long ago. But anyway, but actually died
now,
out.
I will not take those theories, particularly the Darwinian theory. I didn't come from a monkey. I didn't come from a gorilla.
It doesn't actually claim that we actually came from a monkey or a gorilla.
So but the Quranic theory is more reliable.
Is there how do we go about confirming the Quranic theory? What you actually say that
you are not married. When you marry, you will know whether it is true or not. How water becomes a baby.
But these are actually not just water. These are just biological.
Oh yes, and when you now go to Quran chapter 23, verses 9 to 13, it's all the procedure is followed there concerning how a woman becomes pregnant, how the embryo develops in a womb up to the.
I know about that.
That is actually a fact. What are the development of human, but what evolution actually claims that with like I said, please get me the book. There are 2 books inside the bag there. Please get me the 2, please. I want to actually I've made it an habit, to actually give my host books on the show. And this is actually a book on evolution by Richard Dawkins. It's on down evolution, and with loads of the evidence behind it. And I want to actually indicate this for the listeners. Not this one, no, just this one. I want to actually this for the listeners. A theory in science is actually a fact. Theory is different when it comes to. In science, the meaning of theory is actually different, different from in linguistics. And theory actually means a proven fact in science. The Big Bang theory is actually proven. The theory of evolution is actually a fact. When they call it fact, when they call it a theory in science, it's actually a fact. And I want to actually give to you this book. It was given to me. It was paid to. It was sponsored by. The fans of my podcast, and I want to actually give to you this book. It is a book on evolution by natural selection, and I don't know. I really hope that you actually find time to actually check it out.
I've read it.
Yeah. Wow.
But I will collect it from you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Evolution and natural selection, survival of the fittest. Yeah. That's where it's talking about.
Not really. That's where you're not really like
unlike the Darwinian theory of evolution of the survival of the fittest. Islam does not go that way. It is not survival of the fittest for Islam.
When it comes to ideas, also, any idea.
It is about fairness. It is about fairness, not the fittest. About justice. About equity. Even when you get whatever your share is, you are expected to even give to others. Not survival of the fittest. Not survival of those who can get it. No, so Islam is about, in Islam it's about sharing, giving, loving. The evolutionists didn't think it. They didn't think along that line.
They just have to actually follow what the evidence of nature actually provides for them, And I want to actually note this, like what you actually mentioned previously, that we humans actually came from. Evolution doesn't claim that we came from gorillas or chimpanzees or monkeys, I think this is actually from a misconception about evolution and natural selection. What we are close relative to those. We are just relatives, like they are cousins. Chimpanzees are cousins. We have the same origin, but not. We have the same origin, but not like we came from them. We came from the same ancestor. That looks nothing like a chimpanzee or an human. A modern animal can't become another modern animal. a cat can't become a lion. If it will evolve into something else entirely. It can't become that. And I love your idea of fairness and justice, and I love that we're actually vibing together, like what I actually want to focus on there. The idea of Sharia law, you've been advocating, correct me if I'm wrong, you've been advocating for Sharia law in the southwest, like in Lagos, do you think Sharia is actually a just system? Sharia law is actually a just system. A just system of the laws are a just system, like I think they combine it with Islamic law. Do you think it is actually a just system?
Sharia law is Islamic law. Sharia law is a just system. Because it gives unto all children in a family their dues. People have this wrong impression of Sharia law, that it is about amputation of arms.
But doesn't that happen in Sharia law? Like, like whipping and whipping someone and all.
Haven't you seen societies where whipping occurs? Haven't you seen parents disciplining their children?
So that is part of Sharia
whipping
law.
them? No. I'm putting that across to you that it's not only in Sharia law that whipping occurs. Haven't you seen cases where we've seen people who commit atrocities that deserve them being whipped in our societies today? So, what Sharia does is making humanity, making society a better place to live in. Ensuring that everyone has enough, that there is no hungry person, and there is no homeless individual.
Is there any part of Sharia law that actually includes
Sharia
amputation? That actually includes amputation. Is there any part of it that actually includes amputation?
When we talk of Sharia law in the southwest, the Sharia law that the Yoruba people are asking for does not involve amputation. So that I don't want you to push that to me.
I'm just asking.
And we have mentioned it in our press statement. You cannot say because some people apply amputation in Sharia law, and therefore Sharia law should not be applied. The Sharia law we are asking for in the southwest does not include the criminal aspect. We are asking for family law, family Sharia law, family.
Like in what sense?
We are asking for Islamic family law. Like in what sense? Take for instance, if my son wants to marry, he's a Muslim. He wants to marry the Islamic way. Why should the common law court force him to go to the registry? He's a Muslim. The registry is for Christians. It's not for Muslims.
Like, is the registry is it the courts?
Registry is a place where you conduct statutory marriage. I know you are a bachelor. When you want to marry now, you take your fiancé to the registry. You give her a wedding ring. You sign the document, for better, for worse. And there it goes. You cannot marry a second wife. And of course, you know the rules. This registry system favors the woman more than the man. You know the rules of bigamy.
Favors the woman more than the man.
Yes, of course. You may not know that now. You may need to study. You may need to study that later.
How does it favor the woman more than the man?
No, I'm not the one to give that to you. You waste my time.
Okay, all right.
So
all right.
I'm talking about Islamic law.
Okay.
I'm not going into common law.
I will find out.
But please do. Because if you go to the registry, if you make the mistake of sending your wife away, more than half of your property belongs to her.
According to Nigerian law.
Not Nigerian law. According to the constitution, according to the marriage statute in Nigeria and elsewhere, even in Britain, in America. But the Muslims are saying we are Muslims, and our Sharia, Islamic law, allows us to take second wife as third wife. If you force me, if I marry and there is no Sharia, then if I go and marry a second wife, the woman may take me to court, and I could be charged for bigamy.
I think
so. Now, freedom, it is part of Allah given and fundamental human rights of a Muslim to apply Sharia in his life. And we were using that Sharia from the beginning. Sharia was in Ede, Sharia was in Iwo, Sharia was in Ikirun, Sharia was in Ibadan, and even in Ekpe, in Lagos State here. Now, that was before the arrival of the colonialists. By 1775, there were more than 50 Islamic schools in Lagos alone. But when the Oyibo people came, the colonialists, the British, and they were, of course, Christians. They were not Muslims. Everybody knows that. They introduced Christianity, and they stopped Sharia by force. But I mean by force. By 1856, Lagos was bombarded by the British from the sea. They bombarded Lagos, they shelled Lagos from the ship. Artillery fire. That is taking a city by force. So that is my argument for saying that even Christianity was spread by force in Nigeria, because it started from Lagos. Because the first preacher of Christianity in Nigeria was Henry Townsend. And the first place where he preached was in Badagry, under the acacia tree, in 1842. Whereas more than 50 mosques had existed 100 years before him. In 1775, there were 50 mosques in Lagos.
Christianity was first
So Christianity was first preached in
but both are
1842.
foreign ideas.
Now, you come again. Both are foreign. One came before the other. Excuse me. One came before the other. Which one came first? The 1775 and 1085. You know, Islam came to Nigeria in 1085, and it came to Lagos. There were mosques in Lagos, more than 50 Islamic schools in Lagos by 1775, and now Christianity came in 1842. Which one came first? So we are talking of precedence, and we are talking of fairness. We are talking of equity. So if common law is to exist today, then if common law should exist today, Islamic law should be there pari passu. And that is our argument.
I love what you actually said on the idea of marriage. I think, for you, everyone should actually get what they actually deserve from marriages, you know, like what they actually deserve.
It's not only in marriages, in inheritance as well. We are not allowed to share our property. Muslims are not allowed to share their property according to the Islamic law. Yes.
You don't want to actually give your
our own inheritance law is different. It is more liberal, and it is fair.